Pierre Poilievre is set to face his caucus here in Ottawa tomorrow for the first time since losing the election in his own seat. Earlier today, sharing photos on social media from a visit to the Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot, where MP Damien Carrick is stepping aside so Poilievre can get another shot at a seat in the House of Commons. So what can the leader expect to hear from his team tomorrow, gathering after their fourth consecutive election loss? Let's bring in our front bench, former senior advisor to the Liberal Ontario governments of Dalton McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne. Dan Moulton is here. He's now a partner with Crestview Strategy. Shakir Chambers is a vice president at Oyster Group. He worked in Prime Minister Stephen Harper's office before becoming a policy advisor to the International Trade Minister. Kathleen Monk is the former director of communications to the late Jack Layton. She is now the principal owner of Monk & Associates. And rounding us out tonight, Laura Stone is a Queen's Park reporter for the Globe and Mail. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you for the first time since the federal election. So I'm just going to play a quick video because our newsroom just got, I think Pierre Poilievre just posted something, kind of his first, video address beyond just a few statements here and there. So I'm going to play a chunk of it, and then we'll get into a discussion about what happens tomorrow. Let's listen to that.
Well, it's been about a week since the election, and it didn't go how we wanted. But when you get knocked down, you get up and get going. And we've got a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful for you, the countless people who packed out our rally halls, our 2.3 million extra votes, the 25 extra seats, the breakthroughs in Ontario and BC, the expanded coalition of young people, union workers, entrepreneurs, soldiers, and countless others who had never voted before and are now supporting our conservative cause. Now, it wasn't enough. We didn't get over the finish line, which means that I need to learn and grow, and our team needs to expand. That will be my mission.
All right, I need to learn and grow, and essentially sort of prosecuting a similar case as the last time we heard from him after election night, early in the morning, Tuesday morning, before he had lost his own seat. Dan, do you think his leadership of the party is in peril at all?
No, not at all. I'm not sure that there'll be very much of a test for him tomorrow when he meets caucus. In fact, I think the position he's in right now, it probably makes sense for him to go to that caucus and ask them to have a pretty fast vote to clear up any of these questions. I do think the Pierre Poilievre we heard from there is a lot different than the one we've heard from in the last few years, and he may have had a different result last Monday if he'd spoken to Canadians like that more often over the course of the election campaign and over the course of the last few years. It was interesting, before this video came out, reflecting on being in this conversation here with you, I was thinking it's been odd not to hear from him over the course of the last week. He has been uncharacteristically quiet. I think this video was designed to fill a bit of a void that's out there, to try and demonstrate a certain degree of humility. I do think there's a long road for him ahead in terms of learning how to communicate like that a little bit more. But I think this, from a continued leadership standpoint, was a step in the right direction for him.
Yeah, I think, Shakir, certainly, it's not necessarily a tone that we're used to at all. But I also, to Dan's point, I mean, he is going to continue to make the case that they made big gains. He tried to say it Monday night before he lost his seat. He'll definitely make that case tomorrow. What is your sense of whether caucus is behind that message or whether they're a little bit, worried?
I think public-facing caucus is behind that message, right? Because those are true. Popular vote share went up, seat count went up. But at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, right? And there are things that we did wrong. If we did everything right, we would have won the election. So there are things that went wrong, and I think he needs to address that, both in terms of what is kind of the immediate strategy in terms of being in opposition? How are we going to move forward? I think Andrew Scheer laid a bit of that out earlier today, talking about, we can support the Liberals on Canada-U.S. relations and Trump's tariffs, but there's some other areas where we'll obviously oppose them. And I think the bigger question for Conservatives, I agree with Dan. The tone that Pierre struck today is a tone I think he needs to continue to have moving forward. The larger question is, sure, we've done well, but did we lose the election because of external factors, the Trump issue, or did we lose the election because of, some internal questions or personality traits, if you will, of the leader? And if it's the latter, there might be some uncomfortable conversations tomorrow from caucus members, because all these folks want to win the election. And I think Pierre is going in the right direction with the tone in that video. But can he maintain that over 2 years, 3 years until the next election? That's going to be the question.
It will be really interesting to see, Kathleen, the degree to which there is an actual open or voracious examination of what happened, because it's almost like you can get caught up in the idea that you did gain all these extra votes and you did win this huge share of the popular vote, and not necessarily really examine where you did go wrong, because you did. Like, you lost, the leader lost his seat, and they lost the election, an election that they were supposed to win up until basically mid-January.
Not only that they were supposed to win, but let's remember, they had amassed millions and millions and millions of dollars more than any of the other parties, even combined, in terms of their fundraising prowess, the ability that they had to spend both pre-campaign. They just had so many advantages. And I'm sorry, but I don't hear what my colleagues, Dan and Shakir, are hearing in that video. I don't hear the humility that they point to. In communications practice, it would be normal when you don't want to face a tough audience, you would do a video like this, and you would do it on video to ensure that your leader gets the message out as a clean hit. And doing it on site in his newly adopted riding, Battlefield Crowfoot, is certainly a good location for it. But his hand has been forced. He's about, what, 12 hours, maybe a bit more, 16 hours out from caucus meeting, half a day or a bit more tomorrow. And he's putting this message out now. We haven't heard from him in over a week. And I think it's really a bit late. I think if I was advising him, I would have done a video like this, late last week, to ensure some of the stories that were bubbling up over the weekend about disgruntled caucus members, needs to change the core team around him, the executive team, that changes need to be made, all those anonymous conservative sources that are popping up. It could have quietened that if he had gotten out quickly. But his silence has been in some ways deafening. And to the point about them, conservatives continually double down on some of the data points, there are counter data points that could have pointed to their strengths for why they, even with a shift in ballot box question and framing, they shouldn't have lost this election, yet they did.
Last word to you on that, Laura.
Look, I don't think there's any imminent threats to his leadership. I think we've seen a pretty public backing of Mr. Poilievre. There doesn't seem to be anyone waiting in the wings looking to push him out or force him out of the leadership. I think as the dust is settling now, it's probably dawning on a lot of the Conservatives that they're in for a few more years in opposition, right? I think they came off the election. They obviously didn't win, but they were proud of some of the gains that they made, some of the seats they picked up in the Greater Toronto area, in Windsor and Southwestern Ontario, and they felt like their tent was broadened. I think now they're sort of settling into the fact that we're going to be doing this again for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, depending on how Prime Minister Carney governs. I think that's probably a bit of a tough pill to swallow at this stage for some of them, and they need to rethink that strategy. And maybe Mr. Poilievre is going to have a change of heart in how he presents himself. I think it's a bit odd to thank supporters and others for the election campaign and not thank the people of your own riding and your opponent. And I just wonder how much humility there is in that. I haven't seen any public statements from Mr. Poilievre on that, unless I missed it in the last 30 minutes. He hasn't said anything about losing his own riding of 20 years. So I think that he should have, and he still should, come out and say something about that if he does indeed wish to show some humility in the face of defeat.
Maybe he'll do an interview on this program about it. We've certainly extended the invitation.